Consortium Archives. While the University Consortium Archives draws students, faculties, and professors to the University Consortium Park, the auditorium tucked within Archives building becomes essential for civic engagement. However, the way current approach is focused towards the main four-storied building, one has to deviate from this context to reach to the auditorium. While the north-south circulation within a space seems ideal considering the form of auditorium, the entry-exits for the space separates auditorium from the opportunity to establish its connection with a much active built context surrounding it. This winding circuit for the act of departure, the current entrance porch, makes it a lobby irrelevant for a building purely of a public nature. For a similar nature of the program, University Consortium Archives, it inquires about reimagining this lobby as a lobby is also a meeting for buildings, other than the only function of circulating within them. In spite of a large clearing along the approach, the proximity from auditorium disregards the relationship it could have built to subject a large gathering for a public natured building. By discarding the existing lobby and reorienting along east west, it develops a relationship between the auditorium and the bigger room of plaza, going back to the idea of possible main and secondary nodes within the complex. While the volume is capable of seating a gathering as big as 400 people at a time, the internal arrangement is kept unaltered, intending to envelop the core around in relation to its exterior surrounding. For the same, to emphasize the importance of this institution, the existing approach shifts in Western Front, replaced by the canteen block and chemistry labs. While the canteen and chemistry labs shares a garden room mediating from this rear end to the main building through corridors. Are retained for means of connection and allowing the auditorium to enhance its new front when passed by the colonnade. Isn't it memorable to pass through merely columns, reminding of the place it used to be? What is happening despite the reunion of buildings when the entrance lobby is reoriented to east west from north south direction? And how is the purpose of a cohesive build served? The idea of walkable corridor on either ends of the auditorium extends the idea of the envelope, only tweaked a little with some softness of the curves. The shaded path here with the colonnade distinguishes the degree of pedestrian and vehicular threshold between buildings to be able to enjoy rather a walk within the institution than a road majorly functioning for transportation means. Nestled within the overgrowth, the main north south circulation loops around at respective ends with drop offs to confine the vehicular traffic from meandering into the University Consortium archives. For a rare experience of pleasurable walks accompanied in an institutional environment, the pathway becomes the only pedestrian corridor in the campus that passes by buildings and not through them. The buildings this way become visual gateways to the experience of transcending into the wild, not any gated objects usually we think of. Even though the north south path remains the primary one, a waves like vaulted pathway tends to extend towards archives, a path favorable for pedestrians to walk at any time of the day with glimpses of Kanvinde's icon, but this time a different frame. A two-way frame where on the other side the colonnade is like an open gateway for the beauty of wild looked from a very fine garden room. Beyond gardens thought of as merely an act of landscape design, this garden also establishes an hierarchy between the building of archives and auditorium connected by an open plaza. Just how the inside skin is layered within the outside skin and an onion, the outer skin here holds the auditorium of its value, a lobby of a circular form. In this situation, it humbly wraps the core in grandeur. It also contrasts with the formal, precise, and disciplined nature of circulation within and outside archives, which brings two distinct experiences of built in a single neighborhood. The manner of the lobby, by means of a bulging curved pathway, envelops the auditorium core from its new front, while a secondary pathway runs within the tighter wrap of the wall, allowing access to service spaces of restrooms, green rooms, and where also one would slowly like to pass alongside the unusual wildness. The curved lobby acknowledges the original idea of entry points at upper and lower ends, serviceable to the conditional access at times of an active auditorium space. When a larger group or gathering is subjected to being catered at a time, so much as the arrival, the departure serves as a place for their dispersion. The thought of enjoyment and active engagement departing from an event is generated when a sense of leisure is present to descend into. And from anywhere within the fine garden, one could gracefully enjoy watching the wild overgrowth in the backdrop. The open plaza is therefore reimagined as a large garden room that holds each institutional building in cohesion. Hence, the nature of southern facade is no longer attended as the backside, rather becomes of as much importance as the northern facade.